I'm presenting data on a phase 1 clinical trial with a new microRNA called Cobomarsen. This is a microRNA against MIR-155. This is a new mechanism, and this was a first-in-man study. The patient population initially was cutaneous T-cell lymphoma, but subsequently it was found that patients with HTLV1-associated adult T-cell leukemia also overexpressed this microRNA. So we expanded the study to include this group of patients. Today, I'm presenting data on the patients with adult T-cell leukemia. Thus far, we've treated about 7 patients. Initially, we saw some very good responses in patients who had escalating disease. In other words, their disease was progressing after conventional chemotherapy. They went on this microRNA, their disease stabilized and then regressed. We saw subsequently in another 3 or 4 patients the same pattern of activity. And so now we've opened up to accrual to more patients with ATL. It's still early on in our experience with ATL, so we don't really know yet who the patient is that's going to respond, what are the clinical features that would predict response in these patients, and we're still really trying to understand how we give the drug to these patients for how long and whether or not we can change the dosing interval. But nevertheless, we have some very interesting data, and also we have some correlative data which actually shows decreased proliferation of the malignant blasts in the setting of the drug, specifically in the patients on the clinical trial. So I'm very excited about this trial and hoping to move forward to accrue more patients. In my patient population, I have 5 patients on the trial. All of those patients are having responses, and several of them are near complete response. I also have 1 patient who had fairly advanced disease, who had a very brief response but then went on to progress. So again, I think we're still early on in understanding who are the patients that are going to do the best. As far as adverse event profile, we really haven't seen any constitutional symptoms like fatigue, fevers, chills, or anything like that. And likewise, we've really seen no organ toxicity. It's difficult to believe that you have a chemotherapy drug that has no side effects, but I have to say, in using this drug now for over a year in 2 of my patients, and that's with weekly administration, we really haven't seen anything as far as adverse events. I have 1 patient who says that they get a little bit of diarrhea after dose, but that resolves a day or 2 later. But if you overall look at the safety profile, not only in the ATL patients, but also in a larger cohort of patients with CTCL, the adverse event profile is very favorable. The next step with Cobomarsen is to pursue a larger registration trial in patients with cutaneous T-cell lymphoma. This is going to be a randomized trial, so I'm very excited about that. Likewise, we are expanding cohorts of ATL patients. We're also looking at patients with diffuse large B-cell lymphoma because, again, the activated subtype of diffuse large B-cell lymphoma overexpresses the MIR-155. So looking again to see if we have a signal in that group of patients.